Hi, this is Softness. It's good to see you after work, and today we are back with our new video. This time we are going to talk about once again wearable displays, not AR and VR glasses. I got my hands on Viture. So I'm going to look at Viture and xReal. As you know, I have already kind of discarded Rokid Max because of its lot of limitations, and the biggest problem is the inability to update the firmware. So let's start. We are going to break it in a couple of parts, and the focus is once again going to be on actual user experience and not what they say in their press release and marketing material. Once again, none of this is sponsored. I bought it myself, so this is my opinion based on my experience. First of all, let's look at look and feel. They both look great in a way. Actually, Viture looks slightly better than xReal. They have some nice, touch here and there, so they do look better. Comfort-wise, they are both equally comfortable. They also are not as loud as Rokid Max was. Only thing I like a bit about xReal is this flexible arms. So when I put it, just like other sunglasses or glasses that you wear, there is a bit of flexibility here. Where these are rock solid plastic, there is no flexibility here. So if they pinch, they pinch. So let's now talk about the feature and functionality, because that's what we care about, not necessarily look and feel. And that's where they start to drift apart from each other. They have speakers at the bottom and the speakers on top. And the sound wise, I like them both. There is no this one is better and that one is better. Of course, if you're listening to music, and these are small speakers, of course. If you're traveling or outside, you should always use your headphones. But if you're like at home in your office and you're just watching some movies, playing game, they will do fine. You will not need headphones or speakers, at least in your private environment. Now let's talk about display, and this is the area where things start to drift a bit. On paper, they both have similar display projection technologies. A screen is bright as xReal. I did notice that xReal is a bit brighter, but they're not as bad as Rokid Max. There is a brightness button, so you can increase and decrease the brightness. When it comes to color accuracy, I noticed that Viture color are more accurate than xReal. xReal has a little bit of purple or reddish, whereas these are greenish, bluish, closer to what you will see on iPad and iPhone. I use them as reference monitors. HDR, they both support. You will see darker areas very well lit, shadows very well lit, as you would expect from modern displays. The problem starts somewhere else, but it is about display. Number one, Viture display is a bit smaller. I was not expecting that. Despite their claims, it is smaller. So the moment I put it on, I was like, yes, this is not as big, but there's no, I cannot measure it in a virtual environment. So the test that I did was I sat down 7 feet away from my 75-inch TV, and that was the size I was getting on xReal. So if I sat at that distance, the size of the virtual screen on xReal was same as my 75-inch TV. And of course, this is kind of not real size. So if you are looking at a big wall, you will get a perception of a larger screen, whereas if you move closer, you'll see that screen is smaller. That is not the case when you're like PSVR or Oculus Quest, where the screen is really big, huge screen. So this is like more of a perception. When I use the Viture and sat at the same distance, the screen was around 65 inches. So you are getting a bit of a smaller screen on Viture. That's number one. Number two is that I noticed that the screen or display or the picture is a bit softer. Initially, I thought that just like Rokid, they also had diopters to fix myopia, so you can adjust the focus on each lens or projector. I did all the tests and I tried to get as closer as I can get to focusing on each eye, but image was softer. So when I was watching movies like Oppenheimer and on xReal, you can see his, blue eyes staring at you. You can see his eyebrows. Not on Viture. You will see like it's fuzzy, it's soft. That could be a big problem, especially if you're playing games, especially a first-person shooter game, and your target may not be visible. It's not great because we are so used to 4K content, sharp content, that I didn't like it. Second problem, and which could be a much bigger problem if you are thinking of using it for work, is that the text, first of all, the image is already soft, so the text will be harder to read. But as you move away from the center, I'm not even talking about the edge, I'm talking just a bit off from the center, and suddenly you will not be able to read the text properly because it will be blurry. I was playing Avatar, the new game that came out, and I could not read the quest menus, quest items that were there on the left hand side, or I cannot read a lot of other text that will pop up on the display. I can read all of it crystal clear on xReal, but not on Viture. So that could be an issue. Second is that while xReal's screen is perfect rectangle, once again, just like Rokid Max, the screen gets a bit curved, which has a lot to do with projection there. So I was not really happy with a smaller screen, softer screen, and it gets blurred or out of focus as you move away from the center. Is that a deal breaker? Could be. Second is that while xReal uses a standard USB-C cable, you can plug into the cable and you're good to go. Viture comes with its own proprietary magnetic connector. Now, there is nothing wrong with that, but the problem is that you are relying on them. You have to buy those connectors with Viture, if the cable breaks, and cables will break. So you will have to buy that proprietary cable for them as a backup cable. It may or may not be a big issue, but for me, I like the comfort of just being able to plug any USB-C video supported cable and good to go. One good trick that Viture has over xReal, and it's also common with Rokid Max, is that the same button that you use to power up the device, you can also make the glass dim, so it's dimmer. So if you're reading it outside, as I said, you can do a lot of household chores, you can dim the screen and continue to watch the content and do the work. Unlike xReal, you're not blocking the whole screen with a cover on it, which is good because you're still operational, functional. So you just push the button and its skin will darken, push the button and the screen will come back. One more trick that the same button has is that if you hold it, it will separate the two displays, and now you can watch side by side movies in 3D. Of course, unfortunately, there is no 3D content available on any of these major platforms. So unless and until you are bootlegging or pirating the content, there is no way you can enjoy 3D content. Another problem with the 3D content that I noticed is that when you do try to play some 3D content from at least YouTube, you're not getting 16:9 vision. Even if you do manage to get 3D content from YouTube and other sources, it's not 16:9 aspect ratio, it's 4:3. So you are looking at a square shaped screen there, so which is not immersive that you would get on something, let's say Quest. So yes, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of things that you can tweak in VLC and make it work, but it's okay. There's not enough legal 3D content either way. So that is there too. Now, what about gaming? As I said, you can plug and play on anything. The only issue that I noticed was that for some reason, and I don't know the reason, it is not working with Nintendo Switch. I have a couple of OLED Nintendos. I tried with all of them. Rokid Max will work, xReal will work, but Viture will not work on Nintendo Switch. Same is the case with their adapter, which you can use to power the device, like for example Nintendo Switch or phone, or let's say Steam Deck, because they need a lot of power when you're playing game. You can put power and you can connect to the glass and you can play. But Viture's adapter is also not working, so I cannot use this adapter, plug into the Nintendo Switch and watch things on Rokid Max or xReal, or of course Viture. No, it will not work. I did some research to see if this is my device or there's something wrong, and I found on Reddit that somebody posted the same comment that how to get Nintendo Switch to work with it, and their response is to buy a hub, a dock for it, if you want to play Nintendo Switch with Viture. Why? I can plug in my xReal to Nintendo Switch or any other device. It's just a portable monitor, and I can start using it. For Viture, you have to spend more money on getting a dock which is actually as big as Nintendo Switch, carry it with you, power it to be able to play Nintendo Switch. So if you're on the plane, you need to have a mumbo jumbo of all these docks and adapters so that you can play Nintendo Switch. It defies the whole idea of portability. So I don't know really why they're doing it, because as I said, it's just a portable monitor. So this is really it's beyond my understanding, because I tried Rokid Max and I tried xReal. They both work flawlessly with Nintendo Switch, but not your Viture. And I really don't know that, is it like to force people to buy their hub? But I don't think that's a very good practice. The adapter for Rokid Max is working across all the devices on Nintendo Switch as well, but for some reason Viture platform is not at all supporting Nintendo Switch. On the pro side, unlike Rokid Max, you can update firmware on both. I already upgraded firmware on this one, so you can easily go to their site and update the firmware. So there is a possibility that if it is not a hardware bug, if it is a software bug, then they might be able to fix it by updating the firmware. But what are they going to do with this one? How are they going to update firmware of this one? So I'm not sure about that. So if I have to decide between these two devices, it looks like xReal is going to go in my backpack once again, because as I said earlier, I'm going to repeat it as a final verdict. Look wise they're good, sound wise they're good. They both have the ability to update the firmware. This one can even play 3D videos, this one cannot, but image is smaller, image is softer, not sharper. Text is hard to read, especially as you move away from the center, and it will not work on Nintendo Switch. So once again, my money is going to be on xReal. If you have both these devices, or you have tried both of them and your experience is different than mine, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below and tell me where I was wrong or which device are you keeping. For me, as I said earlier, it's not about look and feel, it's not about a lot of factors. The most important thing is that it's a wearable monitor, a wearable display, and if it fails to be a good display, nothing else matters. So that is why I'm keeping xReal. That's the video for today. Thanks for being with me after work, and I'll see you after holidays. Happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to see you before the New Year, but stay safe and enjoy. Bye for now.